Well, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and good evening. I'm here from the UK. My name is SYLBOURNE SHOW, and I'm with Minister Senator Aubyn Hill, Minister of
Industry,
Industry.
investment, and commerce.
Thank you very much. And it's always good to be educated by the minister as he's here on the UK. Now, listen, Minister, when I was with Mr. Terrell
Yeah.
at the diaspora conference, I said to him, depending on who you speak to, many people say Jamaica gone to the dogs, dispel that.
Yes. So, I'm glad you asked that. And to
Yes.
quote a former Prime Minister of Jamaica,
Yes.
we need to mash down that lie. And, the truth is that I want persons to understand that so much prosperity has happened in Jamaica.
Trying to say? And he said, no, Silburn, Jamaica is open for business. And we had a very good conversation. And I'm really impressed that you are here now, Minister for Business, and you're going to tell us now what is this you are doing here in the UK.
Let me tell you how very special Jamaica has become.
Yes.
There is no country,
Mhm.
and you need to hear that well.
Yes.
No country in the Western Hemisphere that can put these three metrics together and make them true,
Yes.
except Jamaica.
Yes.
Post-pandemic, we have the lowest unemployment in the history of our country,
Mhm.
and therefore lower than before the pandemic.
Mhm.
We have a higher growth rate
Yes.
than before the pandemic, and our debt to GDP, which was always a problem,
Yes.
is lower now than before the pandemic. So when you put those three things together, no other country, and I mean from the Arctic Circle right down to Magellan's Straits,
Really?
can match those post-pandemic. And then to put the icing on the cake, about 10 days ago, Standard & Poor's
Yes. I saw Minister Clark said that, yes.
raised our rating from B plus to double B minus, which is the highest rating that Jamaica has ever had from Standard & Poor's in the 24 years Standard & Poor's has been keeping those ratings. So the point that was started off, the question you put
Yes,
to my
yes,
colleague
yes.
minister, that doesn't refer anymore. Jamaica is in a very different place. Jamaica is changing. Jamaica is now a different country. But Jamaica, like every other country in the
Yes.
world, still has some challenges.
And that is very important, and it's interesting what you said right there, and it must be acknowledged. And ladies and gentlemen, you must hear that. And what do you see as Jamaica's most pressing challenge then for economic growth?
Where I sit, Silburn, in 2013,
Yes.
Jamaica was indeed seen as a basket case.
Yes.
Our debt to GDP was 147%. Nobody would lend to us. We had to go to the IMF to get one of those really strict, difficult programs
Yes.
that we worked through.
Mhm.
And since we came to power in 2016, we have brought that down from that height
Yes.
to now 77%. So we've gotten our arms around the waist and, if you will, the neck of the debt to GDP problem.
Yes.
But soon after I came into the ministry last year, I got the first time, the first figures from Statin that showed what our annual trade balance was for 21 versus 20.
Yes.
And I was amazed. We had that year imported 5.975 billion US dollars worth of products. We sold goods and services for $1.441 billion, which left us with a negative trade balance of 4.534 billion US dollars.
Yes.
That means if you're running a business that way and you're making that kind of loss, you're going to have a problem. So I ask my researchers. I said, give me the trade numbers for Jamaica from 1960, 2 years before we became independent. At that time would have been 61 years. Of those 61 years, we had 1 year when we had a positive trade balance, and it was way back in 1966.
Yes.
Therefore, as where I sit now and looking as to how we've managed our debt and how we've managed the economy through COVID, spent 100 billion Jamaican dollars we didn't plan to spend. COVID wasn't planned for, but we didn't raise any taxes, nor, in fact, we have raised taxes in 7 years.
Yes.
The Andrew Holness administration has not raised taxes in 7 years. We didn't borrow any money to get through COVID. We got through it, and still we grew better and had fewer people unemployed. So what's our problem now? That trade balance. Because if you keep cutting your expenses, let's say we keep cutting our debt to GDP, and you cut it down to wherever you want to get it, 60% or less, if you do not have income coming in, you're not going to be a wealthy country. In fact, you're going to have a problem still. So my interpretation is the biggest problem facing us now is that we have to grow our exports. We are an island. We don't have any country nearby where we can even invade. We can't invade anybody.
You're not going to think about
so we're going to have to negotiate new trade arrangements and expand our exports exponentially if we're going to become a wealthy country.
And this points now to why you're here in the UK.
This is why I'm here.
The objectives, outcomes, how to achieve. So tell us about now this massive trip now, and of course, we know you're going to speak to people downstairs, and also there's a lot of meetings tomorrow.
We've had a bunch of meetings today, which went very, very well. Long meetings with people who buy a lot of products from Jamaica. I'm here for two main reasons. A couple of reasons. I started this off in October of 2022, a couple of months after I came into the ministry. And then since then, I've had 7 or 8 business missions. I call them business missions. I don't go anywhere alone.
That is to different countries.
To different countries or different cities in big countries like the United States. We've been to Atlanta, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, New York, and so on, Washington. And Canada, Toronto. But what we do is I take between 35 and 75 people with me from different businesses. Because I'm of the belief and experience from my banking days. We didn't stay in the bank and get business. We went out to our clients.
Yes.
So many of our clients, some big ones, some small ones, all across the board, I have said to them, come, we have to go look for markets. Your minister can't sit in his office and get new markets and get exports. It doesn't work that way. So come with me. And they have spent their own money, SYLBOURNE, traveled with me, come to look at markets. They get new contracts. And I took 16 ICT companies to Canada. The first time I went to Ghana, I took 6. So most people don't even know we have 16 ICT companies that can export. We have big ones they have 500 engineers or 500 people, most of them engineers. And they're doing work in the United States, some of them even in Britain here.
And I just interviewed some book people downstairs.
And you have book people downstairs. So people in all sectors of the economy are now seeing that it's worth their time to travel with me as I try to open doors for them at a level that they can't normally open. Some of them are new business, so they wouldn't have the access. And so I'm taking them to understand that they must go overseas to do it. Then I'm looking to make sure we export more consistently, but also to export more. I go to the United States. Goya would take 20 40-foot containers of ackee per month or every 6 weeks. They can get one. So, and everybody wants ackee. They want Scotch bonnet pepper. They want callaloo. They want avocado. All the stuff that we're not growing enough of. So I'm now going for a step further and say, hey, people who buy, you have a lot of money. Look at backward integration into growing the products that we must agro-process. And that means you have to do agro-processing in the country. And you have to put in storage. Storage is the whole business by itself. So there are business opportunities that come out of the fact that we have to absolutely export a lot more.
And the important thing you say about the business opportunities, because like with JAMPRO doing a fantastic work, you're talking about like the diaspora. You're tapping into those areas where the diaspora also reside as
My
well.
first
Yeah.
preference is the Jamaican and the Jamaican diaspora.
Yeah.
Because you know what's going to happen, Silver. I am agnostic as to where the investment comes from.
Yes.
As long as the money is clean, and it's clean people doing it, I am agnostic. It can come from wherever it wants. Okay?
Yeah.
However, my preference clearly is that it should be Jamaicans, because 3 years from now, 5 years from now, Silver, when many of these factories go up and start running, you start writing and say, look, the government give it away to foreigners. Because the people come and tell you, say, look what the government do. And they will not remind you that I literally beg them to come and invest.
Yes. No, that's very interesting there, because we always hear about the diaspora. But as time is going upon us, I want to just ask one question here. And we are into this era with the digital economy.
Yes.
Transforming industries, trade worldwide, artificial intelligence. Where is Jamaica now positioning themselves? Because a friend of mine in the States, and he sent me a message and said he wants to link with you when you go back. He said, what about you guys creating a hub in Jamaica, especially in this particular area?
It's interesting you say that, because a year and a half ago now, Prime Minister Holness, maybe 2 years, sent four of us ministers to the University of Arizona State University, actually. And we did a lot of work looking at cybersecurity and ICT development, because I am of the firm belief that whatever happens with AI and the ICT industry, everybody's going to need cybersecurity.
Yes.
Because somebody is going to try to hack you or rip you off, or both.
Yes.
Okay? So we believe that if we were to look at a growth area, that's an area we should be in. So we have started that process. In fact, we borrowed a couple of years ago $15 million from the IDB, US dollars, to invest in the global digital services sector, to train people and certify them. They were being trained when I came to the ministry, and they were not being certified. I took back the document, take it back to cabinet. They must be certified so that they can work in Jamaica or anywhere. But if we don't do that, and we're now putting in a lot of money in STEM, if you look at the budget for the Ministry of Education, which is the second largest budget in the country, 150 billion Jamaican dollars, second only to finance, because they pay the debts and the interest. A lot of money is going into training kids from early age and teachers into STEM, and making sure we put technology in the classroom, where when you have really special and able math and physics teacher and so on, you beam by Elon Musk's satellite system into classrooms, maybe 150 of them across Jamaica at this time. That's going in by a young man who is with me on this team. He is about, I don't know, Mr. Allen is what, 28, 29?
Yes.
Put his company on the junior stock exchange, get his $300 or $400 million, working with the government to build this out. Jamaican IT specialists doing this for us.
And just like what Nigel Clark saying, all the engineers, we need to get them registered and sorted as well.
Registered and sorted.
So everybody's linking together.
Everything in the government is working that way. Yes. And Minister Clark, Nigel Clark, is willing to look at how do we pair the budget to skew it in favor of STEM training and developing the ICT skills that we need in Jamaica, because we don't have the land space of the United States, not even Britain. We don't have the population, but neither did Singapore, nor Liechtenstein, or Israel. We have to train our people to be exceptional at what we do.
Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for this interview. And what's your last word? And just one more thing. What are the key sectors that you're singularly focusing on while you're here?
While I'm here, the first thing we're looking at is what we have been good at. The food and processed food business. And then we expand to make sure that we're looking at the services. I was selling to one of the biggest importers here. I say, look, why aren't you doing much of your backroom work in Jamaica in the BPO sector? We have a much better price than you're doing here. We have very trained people. They don't have to live in Britain. You don't have that cost, but you have people, and we have, 78 80 companies in
Yeah.
Jamaica doing this. We should be doing it for you. So we're selling that service part of it as well as the physical manufacturing, like manufacturing of food and other goods, and making sure that across the range we're selling into Britain.
Thank you very much, sir. That's awesome. And for the rest of the time you're in the UK, have a good one. And definitely, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard Jamaica is not just open for business. Jamaica is in business, and you need to be a part of it and don't miss out. Okay? Thank you. Sir.
Boss man,
Respect.
good to see you. All right.
Business consulting, education, real estate, finance.
Special investment envoy for the arts and culture Jamaica. Thank you.
10 years ago. If you haven't been there in a while, come back. You will see roads that you couldn't believe Jamaica would have today. And they are asking me, when will you come to paper, to the market with paper? Jamaica, they told me, is now the single best economy in the emerging market group. Can you imagine that in 10 years?